I couldn't wipe my ass. At 550 pounds, dude, it was a fucking workout, dog. I would have to put my arm on the wall and turn a little bit with making sure the wall would keep it that way.
When I heard that, I knew I had to make this video. Jelly Roll's 200-pound weight loss is one of the realest transformations you'll ever hear. And the lessons he learned could change your life too. What's up, guys? Steven here with Ageless Strength and Performance. My purpose with this channel is to educate, whether it's through full days of eating, reacting to an influencer's content, highlighting diets, or providing pain-free ways to train. I want to provide value. So today, we're talking about Jelly Roll's nearly 200-pound weight loss. Now, if you don't know who Jelly Roll is, let's get you up to speed. Jelly Roll's real name is Jason DeFord. He was born in 1984 and grew up just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Jelly Roll's life has been a series of ups and downs, from being baptized at a young age, to getting involved in the drug scene very early, to being incarcerated many times. He has seen his share of the rough side of life. Jelly Roll started out as a rapper, but I originally found him when his song Son of a Sinner made it to local radio stations, and I was hooked. I'm a huge fan, and as we're going to discuss, I'm glad that he seems to be doing well in all areas of life. But more importantly to me is the improvement he's made in his overall health. As you can imagine, the life I described is not one that leads to a healthy lifestyle or longevity. He even discusses this in his songs. Being 550 pounds at just over 6 feet tall provides a host of health problems. Roughly calculated, because I don't know his exact height, Jelly Roll's body mass index, or BMI, would have been somewhere around 72, which is class 3 or severe obesity. According to the CDC, BMI is a calculated measure of a person's weight relative to their height. For adults, BMI is categorized into underweight, healthy, overweight, and obesity. Obesity is then further subdivided into 3 classes. As I mentioned, Jelly Roll's BMI was class 3, which is the highest. For reference, a healthy BMI is 18.5 to 24.9. Now, when you're that heavy, there's so much in life you just can't do. And to a degree, I can actually relate. I was obese as a child and into my early teens. At 14 years old, I was approximately 5 feet 6 inches and weighed 267 pounds at my heaviest. A different calculation is used for individuals under 20 years old, but at that height, age, and weight, my BMI would have also fallen into the class 3 or severe obesity range too. Granted, I wasn't over 500 pounds, but I felt the effects. I had no energy and no desire for life. Anything that required physical activity was exponentially tiring because of the extra weight I was moving. My self-esteem was non-existent. Sometimes it takes something major to cause you to wake up and make changes. For me, my mom made a deal with me that if I lost 75 pounds, she'd quit smoking. By the time I got my driver's license at 15, I was down to 180 pounds. And if you're keeping track, that is over 87 pounds I lost, which is more than the 75-pound deal I made with my mom. But my mom didn't quit smoking. However, it was the motivation I needed to make changes. For Jelly, there were a couple of motivators.
Came down to was 2 things. One, I knew I was going into my 40s, and I knew that nobody at 550 pounds lived to be 50. Like, that means I wouldn't see my son graduate high school. Like, I started looking like that. That started getting like mortality more than I care to admit had something to do with it. Like, genuine, like, dude, I'm going to die. You know what I mean? I could feel it too, though. Like, I was so fat, I couldn't sleep comfortably.
Realizing that you're immortal is part of growing older. When we're younger, we think we'll live forever. And as we age, have our own family, we suddenly realize that life is short. Knowing that your choices could make you miss out on important moments in life can give you the kick in the ass that you really need. Jelly Roll also talked about the struggles the weight was causing with the most basic parts of his life, like sleeping and using the bathroom. Think about that for a moment. Being so large that you can't even wipe your own ass. I can't begin to understand what that feels like, but we can agree that it's a huge detractor of living life. But ultimately, what he noticed was that the pain of staying who he was worse than the pain of changing.
The quote in the that I heard the first time I went to Alcoholics Anonymous that says something along this line is that people only change when the pain to remain the same is greater than the pain it takes to change. And I hit that moment in my life. That's the truth, where I was like, I have everything I want and can't enjoy it at all.
Mm-hmm. Wow. To have everything you want and not be able to enjoy it. Think about it for a moment. You have the spouse or partner that is the one you want to grow old with. You have your dream job or dream, fill in the blank, whatever it is, and you can't enjoy it because of your health. Now, maybe you're not 550 pounds, but you've got to the point where you don't enjoy your own life. That is a moment that can define your next 20 or 30 years. So ask yourself, does the pain of staying the same outweigh the pain of the change? Now, let's dive into what Jelly Roll did once the pain to stay the same became too much.
I started with Gary Brecka, who was the first person that came in and really like got me right. And then I've been working with since Gary split. I've been working with Ways to Well down in Austin, Texas. Dude. And the cool thing was she came in on some really cool stuff. She said, "Look, we're gonna go back to grassroots with you. We're gonna get off all this stuff. We're gonna take a little testosterone." And she gave me a metformin because I still haven't took the shot. Mm-hmm. And for the record, I want to be clear about this. It's not that I'm against the shot. Like anybody out there that's struggling with major obesity, if your doctor believes that the shot is the way for you, I think you should take it.
You talking about that Ozempic?
Ozempic,
yeah?
what? I don't know what they are, whatever they are.
Now, I'm not a fan of Gary Brecka. He says a lot of really wild stuff just to get clicks. Most of it doesn't make sense from a logic standpoint, much less a research-backed standpoint. Lane Norton has done a ton of videos debunking things Gary has said over the years. Fortunately, as Jelly Roll said, Gary split, which is probably good for Jelly Roll. Now, it sounds like he's working with someone who's given him some reasonable and logical steps. Taking testosterone can make a person with clinically low testosterone feel like a completely new person. Controlling blood sugar with metformin can be a game changer in stabilizing energy. And Jelly Roll discussed Ozempic and other similar drugs and said he chose not to take them. That's great for him. My advice would be to talk to your doctor and see if the side effects of the drugs are less detrimental than the side effects of being overweight or obese. Based on what I've seen, I feel that they are, but that is a conversation to have with your doctor.
In fact, I'll give some super obese people just one real tip right now that'll change your whole life today, is if it's baked, fuck it. Anything that has to be baked, don't fuck with it. It's that easy, unless it's chicken.
Okay, I'm all for finding ways to cut calories when you're dieting, but blanket advice like this is misguided. Jelly Roll means well, but is wrong. Just because a food other than chicken is baked doesn't mean it will cause you to gain weight. In fact, I have a recipe for lasagna and ziti and several casserole recipes that are all baked. They are high in protein and fiber and low in total calories. When you're looking at foods, here's a tip that I always like to give. Look for foods that are high in protein, have a decent amount of fiber, and are on the lower end of the fat content. Those foods will help keep you full, provide energy, and keep your weight loss efforts on track.
Anything that takes flour, anything that involves bacon, like that fast, you cut so much stuff. Like everything that's really tearing your stomach up and carrying that way, the unnecessary calories that are just sitting on you, I just got rid of that.
Flour isn't inherently bad when it comes to weight loss, but like Jelly Roll said, I would generally avoid floured foods because they are typically fried and will have a very high fat content. High fat leads to high total calories, which makes it hard to stay in a calorie deficit. Also, most flour